Welcome to the Service to Syndication podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world who have worn the uniform of this great country, those who provide services to our men and women in uniform, and other service-oriented professionals to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer your dreams and goals in real estate and to use this wealth creation vehicle so you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of generosity and prosperity. If what you desire is time, lifestyle, and financial freedom, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, the knowledge, experience, skills, so you can go out and crush it in whatever real estate asset class you desire. So grab a pencil and paper, sit back, and enjoy the ride on the Service to Syndication podcast. Hello, my servicemen and women and other service providers. Welcome to another episode of the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Cedric Marlowe, and I am a U.S. Navy vet. Here on the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast, we interview the most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world, where most have donned the uniform of this great country. We aim to provide the tool sets, the mindsets, skill sets for you to achieve your personal and business goals while using real estate as a wealth creation vehicle to help you live a more successful, happy, and fun-filled life. I am super excited today because I have Miss Yana Epps, who is a top-notch real estate investor. Hey, but before I properly introduce our exciting guest to you, as always, I want to ask a favor of you. Please, if you get some value out of today's interview, if you get some type of insight, mindset shift, if you learn a new skill, new information, receive inspiration or motivation to go out and take some action, to make some progress in your life, please share this episode with some of your friends. Send it to someone who you know who might be or could be interested in real estate. Share it on your social media, post it on your wall, or share it in your stories. Help us spread our message while you help others. And for all of you who share this episode, I want to say thank you. As I mentioned, I have Miss Yana Epps. She is a proud Bay Area native and the owner of Ask ME Investments. She has over 20 years of real estate experience, which includes lending, wholesaling, rehabbing, interior design, consulting, and being a California licensed agent. Yana currently has ownership interest in 244 multifamily units with the focus on capital raising and investor relations. Her experience as a passive investor has taught her the importance of communication, transparency. Yana's award-winning background in corporate sales and marketing has given her the ability to grow and maintain vital investor relationships, which are the lifeline of her business. All right, Yana, again, welcome. So, before we get going, the first thing that I always do, I ask my guests to give me a 75 seconds or less journey into their real estate investing career.
Yeah, absolutely, Cedric. By the way, thank you for having me. It is such a pleasure to meet a another service member who is interested in the same thing that I'm working on now. It's amazing to see how you've transitioned from one to the next, and I think we're both here for the same reason to help more people do that, right? So, I got started in real estate over 23 years ago. I actually decided I wanted to. Actually, my first job was in lending. So it was a learning experience for me to really understand how equity works. It really opened my eyes to the world of investing. And I was raised in a family of investors as well. So I knew that real estate was my future. I've worked a corporate job for the last 20 years with the same company, but all the while, even while earning a decent income, I really wanted to start to do more and make my money work for me. So I got my license thinking that, I'm going to get into real estate, but just learning that that was like a second job. It was a lot to handle. And, it taught me a lot, but I didn't really want to focus on being a sales agent. I really wanted to focus on investing because it was more of a passive opportunity for me working a full-time job. So about 6 years ago, I started teaching myself commercial real estate. And I could get into why commercial, but I think you know the answer to that. But there's just so much power in commercial real estate. And I started teaching myself. I started networking. I went to a million conferences, traveled around the country, met partners in different markets, and just built my network. And then I started hosting networking events here to even further strengthen my relationships in real estate. And then I kind of took a dive into investing in commercial assets. By the way, I think I need to update my website because I'm in 296 units now. Looking to do more, of course, but it's not about the number, it's about the journey, right? And I have transitioned now from a passive investor where I'm just contributing my capital to now becoming a GP on teams where I contribute my expertise. So I have a capital raising business where we focus on multifamily acquisitions. And I still do wholesaling, which is the way that I kind of build up some of the capital that allowed me to get into this market or into this space as an investor. So wholesaling is transactional. It's not a long-term strategy, but it's something that gave me a start.
Nice, nice. So, for my listeners who may not know what wholesaling is, please explain it a little bit.
So you can kind of think of it as just like I like to call myself a super connector, basically just having the right relationships and solving problems for people. There are a lot of owners out here that own land and property that they can no longer manage because of some type of distress, whether it's divorce, death, health issues, different circumstances that make people have urgency to get out of properties. And when they're up against a wall, they have limited options sometimes. So I solve those problems by creating opportunities for them. So what I'll do is typically, work with them to figure out what it is they're trying to accomplish and solve that problem, whether it's, giving them cash for their property within 2 weeks or 30 days, or with wholesaling, it's not just about um, a quick transaction. Sometimes there are terms that might work for somebody that can help solve their problem. So as an agent, I can basically come in with a three offer strategy. If they want to sell and get top dollar, time is not a factor. We can list it on the market and get the most money for the property. But when time is a big factor and they need to take a cash price that works for them right now, I can solve that problem as well. And the third option is maybe we can come to an agreement on terms that work for both of us.
Okay, okay. So, I just want to make sure that I captured this. I know you said that your parents were real estate investors. Is that primarily what got you into real estate?
Yeah, I must say that it was the first exposure to real estate, if you will. Even before my parents were flipping houses, my grandparents were owning and managing a portfolio of real estate, both single family and multifamily real estate. And so, I think that's probably where my mom got the inspiration from. And I learned from my mom that my great grandparents were actually investors as well. So I think it's just kind of, we were fortunate that we had that exposure in our family, but my mom actually put me to work when I was a teenager. So I spent a lot of weekends painting and doing all kinds of miscellaneous jobs with her as a teenager, and hearing stories about the checks that they collected and seeing it change their lives. It definitely kind of piqued my interest, and I knew that I would get into investing somehow. I thought I would become a flipper immediately, but I found a simple way to flip contracts instead of flipping properties. So I focused on that.
Okay. So I know you said you're in some single family and some multifamily. Are is there any other asset classes that you're involved with?
Involved with at the moment, no, but I've definitely been learning all about different asset classes because it's important for me to feel like I have somewhat of an education in every area of real estate. I'm really interested in the self-storage space and commercial warehouse space. And I want to get into like triple net deals and just kind of maybe have some deals where you're not dealing with tenants and toilets and all that stuff. Even though in multifamily we have professional property management, it's not directly our responsibility, but there's still an expense associated with having people in real estate. And so if we can, eliminate the tenant aspect or the residential tenant aspect, sometimes, I just want to diversify. That's my point. Different
Got it.
markets, different asset classes, different partners.
Yeah. So is your single family local to you?
Yes. So, as I mentioned, I do single family investments as well, including the primary residence, right? Because you have to live somewhere. And I decided from the start that I don't want to pay rent for a very long time. I think I bought my first house at 25. And that has allowed me to build equity and capital that I can use to invest in other things. And so, well, let's see, what's today, the second, third? On the
Or
14th, I'm closing on another single family asset here in the Bay Area because I look at what this property has done for me in the last 5 years, the one that I'm sitting in right now. And it has appreciated close to $80,000 per year. And, there's not a lot of ways to make that much money in real estate. While I am the sole owner, I'm not diversified from a risk perspective, but the benefit is that's all my money, that's all my gain. So there's something to be said about fractional ownership where you do have diversified risk, and I love that. But there's also something to be said about having sole ownership where you're taking on all the risk, but you're also reaping all the rewards. So I looked at what this house did and I was like, I really got to find a way to duplicate that. So I went out and found another single family asset and I rented this one.
okay, nice, nice. So let's talk about your multifamily assets. What markets are you currently in?
So I'm an LP on a deal in Georgia, which is doing well. It's Morrow, Georgia, which is south of Atlanta, a very up and coming, rapidly growing industrial area of Georgia. So there's a lot of rental growth and demand there. I'm also in a 48 unit deal in Montgomery, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston. And it's also a quickly growing area. The population has expanded by 20% in the last 2 years. So it's amazing, the market and the deal. And, there's some differences between the two deals, but I'll, kind of keep that to myself, save that for the next episode. But definitely, diversified markets in terms of where they sit.
Okay. When it comes to investing, what class of asset do you like investing in? And in along with that, what air type areas are you investing in? So are they C
I
class
got you.
assets, B class, A class, so on and so forth?
So typically I would say, from a value add perspective, which is what most multifamily investors are after, it would be B2C and looking for an opportunity to make significant improvements. But in this particular case, like in one of the deals in Texas, is actually a new build. So I won't call it an A class property because it's not an A class area, but it was a new build and a brand new asset. So your expenses are going to be lower, your maintenance costs and everything are going to be a little bit more reduced. Whereas the property in Georgia was more like a B class property in a B class area. So B2C would primarily be the focus. We
Okay.
just happened to have this opportunity to purchase a brand new build from a developer in Texas, and that's how I got into that.
Oh, nice, nice.
And then in
Yeah.
terms of the area, like I said, the population growth, look for different factors in the market, population growth, economic diversity, proximity to airports, proximity to universities and schools and things like that. Anything that will support demand.
Okay.
There's a long list. Yeah.
Of course, of course. So how are you finding these deals?
So I spend a lot of time networking, a
Mhm.
lot of time. Like I said, I've traveled the entire country and attended conferences all over the place, because I think it's important to not only have partners that you can work with as a GP, but also like sometimes I'm at conferences and I'm only in the hallway because I'm really looking to network with investors, right? So that I can share these opportunities with other people. But that's how I find most of my relationships. And then from there, I kind of build on those relationships, get to know people, understand how their business works, and then, kind of vet them. And then once they have an opportunity, I can take a look at the opportunity and the market to see if it's something that fits my criteria. But mostly networking and a lot of virtual Zoom calls and a lot of handshaking. Like I used to have a goal of shaking 100 hands per month. So however I could do that, whether it's at a conference or at my own meetups, or even a virtual handshake, I would consider that and count that as well.
Yeah, that I totally agree with you. Like the information is inside the room, but the deals are outside the room. I'm just the
Hmm.
same way that you are when I go to these conferences.
Yeah.
I'm outside that room in that hallway, networking, and definitely after the conference is over in the evening, definitely
Yeah. That's
networking, building those relationships. That's where the
the
money
meat and
happens.
potatoes, yeah.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah.
kind of have to graduate too, because as a newbie and a rookie, I must admit, I was focused on the stage, right? I want the information. I'm taking notes and I'm trying to grasp these concepts and understand what all this means. And outside of that, I'm teaching myself. But once I get more comfortable with what it is and how it works, now I need to know the people and know what they're doing. So you got to spend time in the hallway so you can actually have conversations.
Okay, okay. So how do you nurture these relationships that you're building?
Well, I do. I have my social media platform, and I try to connect with everybody via email. So, I have a newsletter that I try to distribute regularly, or an informational email goes out to people every once in a while, just so that I kind of stay top of mind. And I share a lot of the interviews that I do, just like this one, on social media, because I also want to nurture relationships through value, right? Because if I can help people kind of understand what I'm doing, then they're gaining value from me. And now they're interested to see like what's next for them, and they can come back and talk to me anytime. So that's really how I try to do it. Just lead with education and stay top of mind.
Okay. So a lot of times when I ask my guests, I, like to ask them about their most recent acquisition. You can choose your most recent or the one prior, doesn't matter. I'll let you have the floor with that. But how was it acquired? Was it syndication, joint venture, money out your own pocket? How was
Yeah.
it done?
Well, I guess I just shared that my most recent acquisition is happening as we speak. So I just got a clear to close from the lender yesterday, and I'll be closing on that single family asset in 2 weeks. So did it by myself. It was a lot to take on. I'd mentioned to you that I work a full-time job, and there's some organizational changes that could be potentially impacting my future with the company. So it's a very scary time for me to make this humongous decision, but at the same time, I know that I'll figure it out. So I had some urgency around getting this deal done before there was any impact, because I'll make it work, and that's just the it speaks to the confidence that I have in my own ability to figure things out. But this acquisition was a different play. While I invest in multifamily for the cash flow aspect, I was more so thinking about the opportunity for appreciation in this single family asset. Because if I can hold on to it and make the note for the next few years, obviously we have a high interest market right now. The note is not cheap, but if I can wait and refinance it and get a little bit of relief on that side in a couple years, then I can potentially put another tenant in that house and move on and do it again. And so the appreciation factor was what I was using to diversify my risk here, because, there's the cash flow multifamily, and then hopefully this house will improve or increase in value over the next few years. And I think it'll be a long-term hold for me. I don't ever imagine myself selling it. I don't really believe in selling real estate. I think I'll leverage it if I need to buy more, but I don't really want to get rid of it because I'm really trying to think of how to build my daughter's future and help her start off with a portfolio.
Okay. Now, how will it be managed?
Self-managed. I'm a licensed real estate agent, so I mean, I can be a property manager if I want to, and it just depends on how much time and energy it takes for me. But I was very selective about choosing my tenant, and I actually chose a contractor as my tenant. So hopefully there's going to be some synergy there where, I'm not getting a million phone calls because I can just pay him to do whatever work needs to be done on the house. And, we don't have too many maintenance tickets and things like that. But, I believe in property management and I always promote it. And I think, taking a 6% hit on your income is worth it if you're not familiar with the business. But being that I have industry knowledge, I just decided to self-manage. And it's also very local to where I'm moving. So that's another thing. If it were remote, there would be no question I'd have to have property manager. But in this case, I think I got it.
Yeah, there's two trains of thought on that. If you have the time, the ability to handle all the phone calls and things like that, like I said, I understand that you don't plan to have that many, but definitely take it on. I know for me and my single family assets, I'm paying somebody to manage it for me because I don't have time for the headaches and heartaches that comes along with it. And one of my tenants definitely has given me a little bit of headache and heartache.
I can imagine. And I think with scale, my perspective may change. So we'll see, you know.
Okay, okay. So with this property, what type of value adds do you see yourself doing?
None. Actually, this is brand new construction. So it's not even finished being built right now. That's why I'm waiting a couple of weeks to move in.
Okay,
Um, so I don't really have anything to do. I just need to sit and wait on this one. It's a little bit different. So we're typically, I can kind of speak to the multifamily value add strategy, but in this case, it's just a new house. I just need to wait until the market tells me that it's worth more money. But in a typical multifamily value add, going back to that, I mean, we look for opportunities to basically increase the bottom line, right? That NOI is the number that drives the value. So if there's a way that we can reduce costs or expenses and improve the revenue to move the needle and force appreciation, that's our strategy.
okay.
So it can
So,
be physical repair, improvements, rehabilitating the property, or it can be tenant turnover, getting rid of economic vacancies, a mix of things.
okay. The 48 unit that you have there in Texas, did you guys have to do any value add? Because it's a new build, new construction build. There was nothing you guys had to do.
So the plan is to basically amenitize the property. So this is a little bit different, right? Because we're not talking about coming into older units and changing countertops and floors and fixtures. We're talking about adding a swimming pool and um, adding a barbecue pergola area outside so that we create a sense of community and create stickier tenants and compete with our nearby assets. So it's a different strategy. Amenitizing the property is basically the play, but this is different.
Yeah, yeah. I know like one particular asset that I was raising capital for, that was kind of our value add play was, like you said, the pergola, the barbecue area. We were going to add a bark park, which they didn't have, and
Yeah,
which I find to be hilarious at this particular asset because almost everybody had dogs.
dogs. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we
but
were
there
gonna
was
have one
not
of
one
those
there.
too.
Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Service to Syndication podcast. If you are a military service man or woman, government employee, or any other service related professional, this is for you. I once was where you are. As a service member, I lived paycheck to paycheck as a government employee. I knew there was more out there for me. I tried all the get rich quick schemes. None of them worked. Then a friend of mine introduced me to real estate investing. I am a commercial multifamily syndicator who helps those who have served in the military and those who provide services to our men and women in uniform and other service-oriented professionals achieve their time, lifestyle, and financial freedom by investing passively into multifamily real estate. If you know that this life has more in store for you, I invite you to tune into the Service to Syndication podcast to learn the tools, tricks, and concepts to help you achieve the time, lifestyle, and financial freedom that comes with investing in real estate. So go over to cobbscreekcapital.us. That is COBBSCREEKCAPITAL.US and schedule a call so that we can get to know one another and see how we can work together to help you achieve your goals.
Yeah, just doing things to make tenants feel like they have a home. So that was the play for sure.
Okay. All right. So, with this particular asset, the 48 unit, did you guys have much of a CapEx budget? Because don't sound like you guys really needed to do much.
Our CapEx budget was about 400K.
Okay.
That would have taken care of everything. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That
So
that
not much
sounds
by comparison. I think the acquisition price was 7.2 million. So 400K by comparison is not much, but yeah, just simple stuff.
okay. Good. Man, you have like you you're into this opportunity, the 48 unit being like class A, and you're moving into a new build, new construction. Man, that's fantastic. Like it's almost like all of your acquisitions and deals for the most part, they're just kind of like move-in ready, what I would consider move-in ready. Wow,
Well, I've done some work in the past and it hasn't always been that simple. So, I think this I wouldn't even be moving, honestly, if the house that I was buying wasn't new construction. Technically, the plan was to buy a home, rent it out to traveling nurses, and just put tenants directly in it. But I landed on a house that happened to be new construction in this new development area, and I was just so and I fell in love. I know you're not supposed to have an emotional connection, but everything was so pretty and shiny and brand new. And honestly, I've never bought a brand new home. So I was like, well, I don't want to just like throw some tenants in there and let them tear it up. Like, can I at least get a couple of years out of it while it's still shiny? So then my plan became to move into it. But otherwise, it was just supposed to be like for traveling nurses. So
okay. And
sometimes you got to
so,
pivot.
no, you said you're putting a contractor into that one. So,
Mhm.
okay. All right. So the business plan changed a little. Why do you think the business plan changed on that?
Um, well, in the Bay Area, it's hard to explain, but there's a part of the market that yields a higher rent versus where I'm buying. So I looked at it from that perspective, just trying to maximize the income. So if I live in the other place, I could actually, even though renting it out room by room to traveling nurses does produce more income, but this house is 5 bedrooms. So when I started to look at that strategy and talk to a couple property managers that have expertise in that field, I realized that 5 bedrooms is a little bit big for an executive rental. There are some families that bring their entire family out there. Rarely do they need 5 bedrooms, but in the case that you're renting it to individual nurses room by room, 5 people in one house is kind of too much. Like if it was a 3 bedroom home, then I kind of would have stuck with that strategy. But it just seems like 5 personalities living amongst each other, trying to figure out things. It could be too much. So then I was like, well, let me pivot back to just putting a standard tenant in place. And then when I compared the two assets, in the two markets and what they yield, I feel like I can get more rent for the house that I live in based on its location versus the other one. So I was like, you know what? I work remote. I'm just going to put myself in the other one. It's brand new. You got to pivot.
I've interviewed people who have midterm and short term business models, right?
Mhm.
And I'm super happy I asked the question that I just asked you, because that was something that never had crossed my mind, that there can be actually too many
Yeah.
rooms for, say, a midterm type of investment plan. So that really sparks, because one of the things just that I've been considering, especially with me continuing to meet people who's in the short term and midterm rental market, is that I've started to consider it a little bit. But now that gives me a little bit more to consider and when and if I decide to go that way. So thanks for that golden nugget.
I didn't consider it either. When I looked at, the number of bedrooms and I started doing the math, of course I went out and did my research on like furnished finders and pulled some comps and looked at rental room rates and then tried to multiply that by 5. I'm like, gosh, I could be bringing in almost $10,000 a month if I had every room occupied. But it's not just that simplistic. It really has, there's a human factor beyond, just occupying this space, that you have to ensure that 5 people get along, and there's not going to be any contention or issues with sharing common space. That is a lot going on. So when I talked to the professionals, they said they haven't really seen it on that scale in this model. So maybe I should just think about going the other route, because I mean, the last thing I want is any vacancy. So I just had to think about what I need to do to get the space filled. Plus, I was going to have an expense of furnishing the 5 bedrooms of at least, $30,000. So I had to kind of factor that in too. Do I want to take the chance to spend the money on furnishing the house and then not have it work out according to plan, or do I just get the tenant in there to cover my mortgage immediately? So I decided to take that route. Now, I still have one of my bedrooms on furnished finders at the new house, because the new house is also 5 bedrooms, but um, my husband isn't going for it. But I kept the ad because he doesn't want anybody to live with us. But if I rent out that junior suite, I could also get about $2,500 a month. But we'll see if I can chip away at him.
He's a guy after my own heart. Like, it's just, me and my wife. That's it. No one else is living here. But I understand.
I mean, it's an income opportunity. That's how I see it. I can make it work, but he's like, hell no.
Yes, I get it. So in your business, I know you said your husband, are you guys partners pretty much in your business, or are you just a one lady show?
One lady show, unfortunately. I really have a lot of envy when I see all these couples working together. I wish that he had just as much passion about real estate as I do, but it's not who he is, and he wants no parts of it, and that's fine with me. I've accepted it, and he has his interests and I have mine, so I'm pretty much working alone. But like I said, that's another thing that I hope that he will kind of shift towards in the long term. I mean, he has recently expressed some interest in making an investment with me in the near future. So we'll see if I can get him to be a business partner.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm quite certain he 100% champions everything that you're doing.
Oh yeah, I couldn't do it without his support. I need that, and he does. He believes in me wholeheartedly. In fact, I love to tell the story about us buying this house together. He did not even see the house. Like, he signed the paperwork and everything because he believes that much in my ability to do what's right for us. So he was like totally on board. He saw it the day we moved into the house. He trusts
Wow.
me.
Yeah, yeah. That's some serious trust, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I love
All
it.
right. Yeah, yeah, that's a beautiful thing, honestly. So let's talk a little bit about this 48 unit, right?
Mhm.
What was the purchase price? What was the capital raise? And what type of financing is on that property?
Okay, so currently this is the one with the hard money. It was, and I'm going to preface this because this would not necessarily have been my decision, but the team that was in place during acquisition purchased the $7.2 million dollar asset with hard money with about $5.6 million loan. And the reason I said that wouldn't be my choice is because obviously in this market, things are changing rapidly, and you just really don't know what the future of financing is. And you shouldn't have a business plan that involves like the health of your asset hinges upon the ability to refinance at a lower rate. I'll just say that. So that was how it was acquired. The capital raise was about 1.5 million in total, because what happens is the hard money lender lent 80% of LTV, and the stabilized debt would have only been lending 65% of the LTV. So you got to fill the gap. You got to raise the equity to fill the gap, and then you have to raise for the CapEx budget. So that's where we stand right now. So we're currently seeking financing, and yeah.
Okay. So I know that you said that you have your capital raise business. So are most of your investors, are they retail investors or real estate professional investors?
No, I think, and my investors are retail investors, because our avatar is the person who is a busy professional. They're really good at what they do. They know their industry well, but they don't have the time to go learn real estate the way that we know real estate. They want to make wise investments, and they want to partner with people who they trust, but they don't want to spend the time. So they have the money, but they don't have the time or the expertise. So typically it's not a real estate professional, even though like you and I talked about, these JV potential opportunities before the call started. Like I still look for those opportunities as well, but JV partners are like different than investors in my eyes, right? Because when I'm talking about just working with somebody from a capital standpoint, typically they don't have that expertise.
Okay. So what have you been doing to nurture your current investor base?
The same thing, just still trying to look for new opportunity. I have made a decision this year that my opportunities that I present to people will, like I had to modify my business plan a little bit, because initially my business plan was to partner with experienced operators around the country, and that have a proven track record, that I've vetted the operators, vetted the market, vetted the asset. And what I've learned is that there are still circumstances that can arise, even though you do your best to vet every aspect of everything. There's still circumstances that arise with like a market, like in the temperature and the climate that we're in right now, that start to change people's I won't say ability, but like people have done well in a good market, but then when they're faced with like hard times, they don't necessarily have the ability, is what I've uncovered. So for those reasons, I have decided to not raise capital on any deal that I don't have direct decision making abilities on. So that's the biggest shift in the business model. And when I look at my market and my geography, I mean, living in California, we're not doing multifamily deals here, at least not the value add buy and hold. It's going to be development. It's going to be mostly development, but commercial development. So just build it and get out of it. Don't really want to deal with landlord laws here. It's really hard to buy anything that makes sense from a cash flow perspective. So just really trying to wrap my head around the development process, getting more training, understanding how to get government grants, and take advantage of some of the money that's sitting here waiting for people to go build affordable housing, and learn how to navigate that process. So that's what I'm focused on now. And um, when I feel confident enough, I will invite investors into the deals that we're doing.
Okay. And what are you doing to build your new investor base?
I still network my butt off. So you can catch me at any random conference across the country. I still love meeting people. I still love talking to people. So I don't even really consider it work. I just love to get to know people and their story and their goals. So hosting meetups here and providing educational platforms for people who have expertise in different fields to come and present to the community and for the greater good of the community, and hosting and doing things like that. So,
Okay. And when it comes to communicating with your investor base, how often do you do that?
well, if you count social media, then daily, but we do a weekly newsletter, and I'm always on calls with people too. So
Okay. So, do you still keep in touch with some of your military comrades?
I do. I've made lifelong friends in the military. In fact, some of my oldest friends that exist are from the military. So I have really good relationships with them. And, having joined the service over 20 years ago now, a lot of my comrades are now retired and looking for the next step, the next phase, because they have more time and now they want to supplement their income. So I've had a lot of conversations with people about how they can now go from, I guess, active duty to passive income.
Okay. I like it. I like it. And how do you give back to the military community?
I must say, I guess I don't have like a super active role in contributing. I mean, I am a veteran, and I actually have some responsibilities with my corporate job that pertains to veterans. So, being a part of the employee resource group for veterans, I'm the lead on a annual relay race. Have you heard of Carry the Load?
I have not.
Yeah, so I'm the lead on that. So what we do is it's not me, but the Carry the Load organization organizes an annual national relay. There's basically 5 routes across the country. You can go on the website and figure out where it starts and where you can jump in. You can walk it, you can run it, you can just be side by side. It's supposed to memorialize fallen soldiers. So like sometimes people literally will carry a weighted backpack to carry the load, and it's a relay, so it goes from city to city, state to state, and it ends in Dallas, where there's a big Memorial Day celebration. So I lead that initiative, and we donate money from AT&T to carry the load, and they put me in charge of it because of my status. So I guess that's the biggest contribution. I wish I had
That
more time to do
is.
more. Yeah.
That's huge. That's a
Yeah, I
huge
love that.
contribution.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
so
is.
that's great. So Yana, before you became this very successful person I see in front of me, uh, give our listeners a little bit of your backstory. I know you kind of done it already, but like where you grew up, how was your upbringing, what was your past, and what in your past shifted your mindset into becoming the person you are today?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that question because okay, so let me start from the beginning. I grew up with two parents in two homes, right? So I had my mom and my dad. I grew up mostly primarily living with my mom, and going to my dad's house on the weekends. My mom was working for the University of California and also the county when I was growing up. And she started a business. So my mom was probably the first like vision of entrepreneurial an entrepreneur that I saw. As a tongue twister. But my mom started a business and worked both jobs at the same time. So she was in her store and she was going to work, and she was grinding hard. So I know that that had an impact on me, and all the while that meant that she spent probably less time with me, unfortunately. So to be completely honest, I had some discipline issues growing up, and I lost focus. And so around the time where, fortunately I still graduated from high school, and I got myself in shape by joining the military. So that is where the military like completely changed my life. And so the discipline and the things that like are ingrained in me from the time that I served will be forever. I'll be forever grateful for that experience because it turned my life around to the point where like I had to like apologize to my parents for wreaking so much havoc in their lives, and it also made me the parent that I am today to my daughter because of the lack of discipline that I had. I decided to instill discipline from like day one. And people think I'm exaggerating when I tell you my daughter has never talked back to me. She has never raised her voice, slammed a door, disobeyed me in any kind of way because we had a different relationship out of the gate. So, all that to say, the military was really impactful on my turnaround. That was probably the most pivotal point in my life that changed my trajectory. So, recently, I was fortunate enough to write a book about it, and I partnered with 26 other ladies that are also real estate investors, different parts of real estate. We partnered up and we all told our stories and our background about how we got into real estate, why we got into real estate, what we do in real estate, and where we're headed in real estate. So that book is called Real Women in Real Estate, and it's on Amazon. We actually became an Amazon #1 seller, and I'm really proud of the opportunity that I had to share my story in that book. So, um, that's kind of how it started. And I appreciate that you call me successful, but it's hard for me to accept that because I feel like I'm just getting started, but I appreciate the compliment.
All right. So, as wow, it's amazing how time flies, but I have just a few more questions before we wrap this up. What is one belief you had as a beginning investor that has turned out to be false, but may be holding people back from taking the leap into real estate?
Um, so when you think about owning real estate, a lot of people associate it with, having a lot of money or having great credit. And I think the biggest misconception is that you have to have both of those factors. And one, I learned about fractional ownership opportunities. It really changed my mind about a lot of things because knowing that I don't have to know everything, have all the money, or do it by myself, I can actually partner up with a team and own a small slice of the pie. It doesn't, it's not based on your credit per se. It's just really a matter of having enough capital to contribute to the team. And so, when people really learn about that opportunity, I think it's a mind shift because then you can start to think about how to participate without having, taking on all the risk or having a bunch of expertise. You can just be with a group that you know and trust. And so I think that's a big learning lesson for those who are not already familiar with syndications and fractional ownership. And yeah, because for me, like knowing that I can invest as little as $25,000 in a deal and be a fractional owner in a huge commercial building. Um, it makes you want to not spend your money on dumb things. It really just makes you want to save more money and put money where it's supposed to be. And that's really how I started to like accelerate my savings and do more deals. So,
Okay. All right. So, knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you give yourself at the beginning of your real estate journey that to make yourself have faster, easier, and smoother success?
um, I would have, liked to have explored that at an earlier age. Thinking that I had to do everything on my own really probably slowed my progress. So knowing that I could have been saving, a couple bucks here and there and getting involved a lot earlier in that aspect, like in syndications, I would have done that from the start, which is what unfortunately for me, I didn't do it early, but fortunately enough for my daughter, she has my guidance. So she's just graduating and entering the workforce, but I have already kind of sat down with her and told her this is what the plan is. Like you're going to take a certain percentage of your income and you're going to put it to the side and you're going to make investments. I don't care what's left over for you to live off of, but you need to make sure you're setting yourself up to have this comfort in your future. So learning how to defer your gratification.
Okay. Along that line, what strategies would you recommend to a beginner so that that has led to some of your success?
I think everybody's different. So you have to think about what and it depends on your age and where you are in your career and what your risk tolerance is. But the first step is definitely investing in yourself and your education because you need to know. at least enough about a deal to feel confident. You can't take anyone's word for anything in this business. So education is a big piece. I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts in my car, reading books on airplanes, or whenever I get a chance, just educating myself, and then determining what you have in terms of the 4 key areas, I call it. So time, money, expertise, and control. Like, depending on how much you have in need of each one of those, it will tell you where to get started in real estate. Because if you want to do fix and flips and handle everything yourself and make all the decisions, then you probably don't want to be a part of a syndication. But if you are a working professional and you have some money but not a lot of time, then you can put your money in some other capable hands and see results. Or if you have a ton of time and no money, you can get started in wholesaling, because there's some strategic strategies out here that can actually help you build capital in order to get your foot in the door. And it just depends on you as a person. So, you know, happy to have those conversations, but those are the factors that I feel like help you determine like where to get started in real estate.
Okay. Do you recommend mentors? Why or why not?
Absolutely. I do. Because why make the mistakes yourself and pay for the mistakes when you could just pay for the mentor? And you have guidance, someone who's already made those mistakes, and someone to call, pick up the phone. I had a mentor that helped me through my very first wholesale deal, that I had invested in this program, and I got stuck on my contract during the first transaction. And it was like very urgent that I had an immediate answer. And he's all the way in Atlanta, and I was able to call him and get work through my first deal. But I've had a lot of free mentors pour into me, and I've also paid for very expensive mentorships, which I see value in both. And it all depends on your circumstances again. But I've also tried to pay it forward by being a mentor and a coach to people for free, unofficially, and just giving people advice and guidance. But I have now been doing paid consultations, which I think it's time to kind of pivot because I have limited bandwidth. So.
Okay. Is there any person, whether real estate related or not, that has led to your success?
Yeah, like I attribute a lot of this journey to my family as a whole, but I will single out my grandmother, who was a matriarch of our family and a real inspiration to me. I like to think that I got a lot of traits from her in terms of business and, being a leader in the family, and just being caring and giving the way she was.
Oh, wow. Nice. I love it. I love it. Well, Yana, it has been a blast having you as our guest today. As we close out, please tell our listeners where they can learn more about you, get in touch with you, and learn about all the fabulous things you have going on right now.
Thank you. So my website is therealpropertyprincess.com. I can also be found on Facebook under Yana Epps. I have a Facebook group called Real Estate and Investment Strategies. And I also, on IG, I'm at The Real Property Princess. So
Okay, awesome, Yana. Again, I want to thank you for your time today and all the wisdom you have provided to my listeners. It's greatly appreciated. And I want to thank you, our fans, for tuning in to the Service to Syndication podcast, where we provide value to you and your investing business. Please tune in to our next episode, where we will interview another fantastic investing professional. See you next time.
thank you, Cedric. You almost made me cry twice.
Thanks for listening to the Service to Syndication podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate your support, and we are grateful about being a part of your journey to becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will get a lot out of what you just heard. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be in all areas of life. And if this was really valuable, share it on your social media stories and timelines. Thank you for watching and listening. Now go be great.